فاطمہ، تم پر سلام ہے۔ میں نے جواب دیا، بابا جان آپ پر بھی سلام ہو۔ پھر آپ نے فرمایا، میں اپنے جسم میں کمزوری سی محسوس کر رہا ہوں۔ میں نے کہا، بابا جان خدا نہ کرے جو آپ کمزور ہوں۔ پھر آپ نے فرمایا، فاطمہ مجھے ایک یمنی چادر لا کر اٹھا دو۔ میں یمنی چادر لے آئی اور وہ میں نے بابا جان کو اڑا دی۔ میں دیکھ رہی تھی کہ آپ کا چہرہ چودھویں رات کے چاند کی طرح چمک رہا ہے۔ اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد۔ یہ ایک ساتھ نہیں گزری تھی کہ میرے بیٹے حسن علیہ السلام آ گئے اور بولے، امی جان آپ پر سلام ہو۔ میں نے جواب دیا، میرے بیٹے، میری آنکھ کے تارے، میرے دل کے ٹکڑے، تم پر بھی سلام ہو۔ پھر وہ کہنے لگے، امی جان مجھے گھر میں نانا جان کی سی خوشبو آ رہی ہے۔ میں نے کہا، ہاں تمہارے نانا جان چادر اوڑے ہوئے ہیں۔ اس پر حسن علیہ السلام چادر کی طرف بڑھے اور کہنے لگے، سلام ہو آپ پر نانا جان۔ اے خدا کے رسول، کیا مجھے اجازت ہے کہ میں آپ کے پاس چادر میں آ جاؤں؟ آپ نے جواب دیا، میرے بیٹے، میرے حوض کے مالک، تم پر بھی سلام ہو، تمہیں اجازت ہے۔ بس حسن علیہ السلام آپ کے پاس چادر میں پہنچ گئے۔ ایک سال نہیں گزری تھی کہ میرے بیٹے حسین علیہ السلام آ گئے اور کہنے لگے، امی جان آپ پر سلام ہو۔ میں نے جواب دیا، میرے بیٹے، میری آنکھ کے تارے، میرے لخت جگر، تم پر بھی سلام ہو۔ پھر وہ مجھے کہنے لگے، امی جان مجھے گھر میں نانا جان کی سی خوشبو آ رہی ہے۔ میں نے کہا، ہاں تمہارے نانا جان اور بھائی جان دونوں چادر کے اندر ہیں۔ اس پر حسین علیہ السلام چادر کے قریب گئے اور بولے، نانا جان، اے خدا کے مختار نبی، آپ پر سلام ہو۔ کیا آپ کی اجازت ہے کہ میں آپ دونوں کے پاس چادر میں آ جاؤں؟ آپ نے فرمایا، تم پر بھی سلام ہو میرے لال، میری امت کے بخشوانے والے، تمہیں اجازت ہے۔ بس حسین علیہ السلام بھی ان دونوں کے پاس چادر میں پہنچ گئے۔ اس کے بعد علی ابن ابی طالب علیہ السلام آ گئے اور بولے، رسول کی بیٹی، تم پر سلام ہو۔ میں نے جواب دیا، ابو الحسن، اے مومنوں کے امیر، آپ پر بھی سلام ہو۔ پھر وہ کہنے لگے، فاطمہ مجھے گھر میں اپنے بھائی اور اپنے ام کی سی خوشبو آ رہی ہے۔ وہ آپ کے دونوں بیٹوں سمیت چادر کے اندر ہیں۔ بس علی علیہ السلام چادر کے قریب گئے اور بولے، اے خدا کے رسول، آپ پر سلام ہو۔ کیا مجھے اجازت ہے کہ میں بھی آپ کے پاس چادر میں آ جاؤں؟ بابا جان نے ان سے فرمایا، تم پر بھی سلام ہو میرے بھائی، میرے جانشین، میرے علم بردار، تمہیں اجازت ہے۔ بس علی علیہ السلام بھی چادر میں پہنچ گئے۔ پھر میں چادر کے قریب گئی اور میں نے کہا، سلام ہو آپ پر بابا جان۔ اے خدا کے رسول، کیا میں بھی آپ کے پاس چادر میں آ جاؤں؟ بابا جان نے فرمایا، تم پر بھی سلام ہو میری بیٹی، میرے پارہ جگر، تمہیں اجازت ہے۔ چنانچہ میں بھی چادر میں چلی گئی۔ اب جو چادر میں اکٹھے ہو گئے تو بابا جان نے چادر کے دونوں کنارے پکڑے اور دائیں ہاتھ سے آسمان کی طرف اشارہ کرتے ہوئے فرمایا، اے خدا، یہ میرے اہل بیت ہیں، یہ میرے خاص لوگ اور حامی ہیں، ان کا لحم میرا لحم ہے اور ان کا خون میرا خون ہے۔ جو انہیں ستاتا ہے وہ مجھے آزار دیتا ہے، جو انہیں رنجیدہ کرتا ہے وہ مجھے بھی رنج پہنچاتا ہے۔ جو ان سے لڑے گا میں بھی اس سے لڑوں گا، جو ان سے صلح رکھے گا میں بھی اس سے صلح رکھوں گا، جو ان سے دشمنی کرے گا میں بھی اس کو دشمن سمجھوں گا، اور جو ان سے دوستی رکھے گا میں بھی ان کو دوست جانوں گا، کیونکہ یہ مجھ سے ہیں اور میں ان سے ہوں۔ اے خدا، تو اپنی صلوات، برکات، رحمت، بخشش اور خوشنودی میرے اور ان کے لیے قرار دے، اور ان سے نجاست کو دور رکھ، اور انہیں نہایت پاک و پاکیزہ رکھ۔ اللہم صلی علی وآل محمد۔ پھر خدائے بزرگوں پر ترنے فرمایا، اے فرشتوں، اے آسمان کے رہنے والوں، میں نے یہ مضبوط آسمان، پھیلی ہوئی زمین، روشن چاند، چمکیلا سورج، گھومتے سیارے، تھلکتا سمندر، تیرتی کشتی، یہ ساری چیزیں صرف انہی 5 افراد کی خاطر اور انہی کی محبت میں پیدا کی ہیں جو چادر کے اندر ہیں۔ اس پر امین وحی جبریل علیہ السلام نے پوچھا، اے پروردگار، یہ چادر کے اندر کون لوگ ہیں؟ خداوند عالم نے فرمایا، یہ نبی کے اہل بیت اور رسالت کا خزینہ ہیں۔ یہ فاطمہ، ان کے بابا، ان کے شوہر اور ان کے 2 بیٹے ہیں۔ اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد۔ جبریل علیہ السلام نے عرض کیا، اے پروردگار، مجھے بھی اجازت دے کہ میں زمین پر اتروں اور ان میں شامل ہو کر چھٹا فرد بن جاؤں۔ خدا نے فرمایا، تمہیں اجازت ہے۔ بس جبریل امین زمین پر اترے اور کہنے لگے، اے خدا کے رسول، آپ پر سلام ہو۔ خدائے بزرگ و برتر آپ کو سلام کہتا ہے، آپ کو درود اور احترام سے سرفراز فرماتا ہے، اور آپ سے کہتا ہے کہ میری عزت اور بزرگی کی قسم، میں نے یہ مضبوط آسمان، پھیلی ہوئی زمین، روشن چاند، چمکیلا سورج، گھومتے سیارے، پھلکتا سمندر، تیرتی کشتی، یہ ساری چیزیں صرف تم لوگوں کی خاطر اور تمہاری ہی محبت میں پیدا کی ہیں، اور خدا نے مجھے اجازت دے دی ہے کہ میں بھی چادر کے اندر آپ کے پاس آ جاؤں۔ اے خدا کے رسول، کیا آپ مجھے اجازت دیتے ہیں؟ رسول خدا نے فرمایا، اے خدا کی وحی لانے والے، تم پر سلام ہو، ہاں تمہیں بھی اجازت ہے۔ پھر جبریل بھی ہم لوگوں کے ساتھ چادر میں آ گئے۔ اس کے بعد جبریل نے میرے بابا جان سے کہا، خدا آپ کو وحی بھیجتا ہے اور کہتا ہے، انما یرید اللہ لیذھب عنکم الرجس اہل البیت ویطہرکم تطہیرا۔
اللهم صل
صلی
على محمد آل محمد۔
کہ واقعی خدا نے یہ ارادہ کر لیا ہے کہ آپ اہل بیت سے نجاست دور رکھے اور آپ لوگوں کو پاک و پاکیزہ رکھے۔ تب علی علیہ السلام نے بابا جان سے کہا، اے خدا کے رسول، مجھے بتائیے کہ اس چادر کے اندر آ جانا خدا کے نزدیک کیا فضیلت رکھتا ہے؟ اس پر رسول خدا نے فرمایا، اس ذات کی قسم جس نے مجھے نبی بنایا اور لوگوں کی نجات کی خاطر مجھے رسالت کے لیے منتخب کیا، اہل زمین کی جس محفل میں ہمارے شیعان علی اور دوستدار اکٹھے ہوں گے اور ہماری یہ حدیث بیان کریں گے، ان پر خدا کی رحمت نازل ہوگی، فرشتوں ان کو حلقے میں لے لیں گے، اور جب تک وہ لوگ محفل سے رخصت نہیں ہو جائیں گے ان کے گناہوں کی بخشش کے لیے دعا کرتے رہیں گے۔ اس پر علی علیہ السلام نے کہا، خدا کی قسم، ہم اس وقت کامیاب ہو گئے۔ پھر رسول خدا نے فرمایا، اے علی، اس ذات کی قسم جس نے مجھے سچا نبی بنایا اور لوگوں کی نجات کی خاطر رسالت کے لیے منتخب کیا، اہل زمین کی جس محفل میں بھی ہماری یہ حدیث بیان کی جائے گی کہ جس میں ہمارے شیعان علی اور دوست اکٹھے ہوں گے، اس محفل میں جو کوئی دکھی ہوگا خدا اس کا دکھ دور کرے گا، جو غم زدہ ہوگا خدا اس کو غم سے چھٹکارا دے گا، اور جو کوئی حاجت مند ہوگا خدا اس کی حاجت پوری کرے گا۔ پھر علی علیہ السلام نے فرمایا، بخدا ہم نے اس وقت کامیابی اور برکت پائی، اور کعبے کے رب کی قسم اسی طرح ہمارے شیعان علی بھی کامیاب ہوئے اور دنیا و آخرت میں خوش نصیب ٹھہرے۔ اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد۔ Thank you. اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد۔ رو کے فرماتی تھی گر کی زوجہ، بھوکے پیاسوں کی یہ حاضری ہے، بیوی اس کو تم رد نہ کرنا، بھوکے پیاسوں کی یہ حاضری ہے، مجھ کو تقدیر کب کے گئی، جب کہ سب کی صفائی، خوان آگے اتروانے فضا، بھوکے پیاسوں کی یہ حاضری ہے، پرسا دینے کو آئی ہے، حاضری شے کی لائی ہے لوٹی، فاتحہ دو شہید بے وطن کا، بھوکے پیاسوں کی یہ حاضری ہے، مجھ میں طاقت نہیں ہے بکا کی، صبر کر میرے صابر کی پیاری، آ کے کچھ کھا لو بالی سکینہ، بھوکے پیاسوں کی یہ حاضری ہے، اپنے مصغر کا صدقہ، شاہ مظلوم کے سر کا صدقہ، توڑ فاقہ پیمبر کا صدقہ، بھوکے پیاس یہ حاضری ہے، وہ کہ فرماتی تھی حر کی جا، بھوکے پیاسوں کی یہ حاضری ہے، اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد۔ صلی علی محمد و آل محمد، اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد۔
صلوات
اللہ
اللهم صل على محمد آل اعوذ باللہ السمیع العلیم من الشیطان الرجیم بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم اعوذ باللہ السمیع العلیم من الشیطان الرجیم بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم Noon wal qalam wama yastarun. Ma anta binamati rabbika bimajnun. Wa inna laka li ajrin ghairi mamnun. Wa innaka la ala khuluqin asim. Sadaqallahul azim. Salawat. Our consistent theme of explorations over these 6 nights dedicated to sacred memory is a recognition and an appreciation of the spirituality in everyday life. And our continuous theme is to do this exploration through 7 doors. In our previous sessions, we have taken exploration of submission. The first day, submission. We looked at that in great detail to recognize that when I submit to the Lord of the worlds, I'm relieved from submission to the 1,000 impulses, idiosyncrasies, temptations that rise from within. We then took a good look at IT work. And we saw that ultimately, as the Imam al-Muttaqin tells us, taqwa that isn't restrained. We normally think of taqwa as an exercise of willpower. Imam al-Muttaqin tells us, no, it is not. It is won't power. Being able to not only find the temptation to do the clumsy, the stupid, the banal, the evil, the irrelevant, not just restrain oneself from that, but to find no attraction in them, to make them irrelevant, to be revolted by them, to be repulsed by them. It's like a moral muscle. We spent some time explaining that. Yesterday, we went to another door. We looked at a definition of spirituality coming from modern thinkers. We looked at the way a modern writer explains spirituality, opening 3 sentences of the book. I have the book here. So we went in detail of the third door. Today, knowledge and remembrance, the fourth and the fifth door. Today we will look at 2 of them, since we have 6 talks for 7 doors. So today we'll be combining. And therefore, it was my honor and privilege to recite the opening verses of Surah Qalam. I could have easily chosen chapter 96, Surah Alaq, Iqra. There is the whole issue of knowledge. And today we will be similar thing, chapter Surah Qalam, Noon wal Qalam, wama yastarun. Noon is one of the abbreviated letters. A few remarks on that in a moment. I swear by the pen and that which they write in lines. You are not by the grace of your Lord possessed. Ma anta binamati rabbika bimajnoon. You are not possessed. There is a direct link in a moment. We will explore this. For you, wa inna laka li ajrin ghairi mamnoon. For you is a reward unending. Wa innaka la ala khuluqin azim. Surely, you are based on an exalted level of character, on the best of character. These four verses are our starting point for our exploration on literature. So, this letters, the abbreviated letters, huruf-e muqatta'at, form a complete study by themselves. It is one of the wisdom and the wonders of the Quran that there are 29 surahs of the Quran which contain these mysterious letters, significant letters, abbreviated, lots of other words for them. And these are a constant, if you like, focus of meditation. And people much wiser than me have pointed out something extremely interesting. They have said if you look carefully at the letter Noon itself, its shape and form, Noon, just the letter Noon, and then the word Kalam, it is significant that this letter occurs only once in the Quran. This is the only place where it is huruf muqatta'at, one of the separate letters. If you look at the form and shape of the letter Noon, they say it looks like an ink pot. Wal qalam, the pen dipped in the ink pot. Wama yastarun, that which they write. So now the sentence would be, I swear by the ink pot, swear by the pen, and by that which they write. So suddenly now our attention on that individual letter turns into not just an individual letter, but the source. But the source of all writing, the ink pot. What a remarkable metaphor that the ink pot contains all the wisdom which the author was going to draw upon and write. The ink pot then holds in potential which writing as wisdom is to make manifest. Therefore, the ink pot refers to the unmanifest wisdom, and the pen is the way by which that wisdom becomes manifest. Most remarkable way of understanding, there is the infinite wisdom of Allah. There is the pen, the law kalam, the pen by which it is manifest. And there is the book and the tablet and the wisdom that overflows. Suddenly, in these three words, we almost have a cosmic metaphor of creation. It's a whole plan of creation. From the potentiality of non-manifest existence comes decision to make manifest, and from there we have the manifestation itself. Noon, wal qalam, wama yastarun. Subhanallah. Salawat. And it is instructive that immediately after this reference of writing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala turns to a majestic quality of the Prophet. You are not, by the grace of God, بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ بِمَجْنُونَ. You are not possessed. You have not lost your equilibrium. You are of sound sanity. You are on perfect sanity. Let us think for a moment of what is the relationship between the pen, the writing, and sanity. And in our times, we find it marvelous. All writing, all those who actually write, I'm not talking about copying. I'm not talking about handwriting itself. I'm talking about the act of writing, the act of creation of meaning on paper or screen, the act of creation of meaning on paper or screen. I have in my mind an inchoate jumble of words, ideas. I put them out on paper and then they start taking shape. Then I express, I edit, I change, I proofread, I improve the word choice. By doing so, I get closer and closer to that which I wanted to express in the first place. In the process of writing, I'm showing my finest humanity and my finest sanity. And so, therefore, the Quran connects the act of writing with the act of sanity. And therefore, Allah Ta'ala swears by writing that you are not one who has lost your equilibrium. You are of sound mind. Meaning the prophet's sanity and the act of writing are equated. And perhaps there is a deep lesson for us to take in this. We who have given up writing to almost completely to the digital mediated world we are in, we who are almost losing this capacity to pick up the pen and jot down something, we need to remember that there are some things, just reading something, that university students in modern times are losing the capacity which mankind had for 5,500 years of recorded history, the act of writing. And now we find writing connected to our humanity and to our sanity in these opening words of chapter 2. Salam. This business of knowledge is a great business. And we live in an age where truly there is enormous confusion. It will be my honor and privilege to, even if at the risk of repeating things that I have said in previous gatherings right here in these things, there is no harm in repeating a few worthy things. We need to take this word knowledge and make distinctions and understand it. For of all the words that are abused today, knowledge is the most abused, misused. So let's understand four. We begin with data. Data. This is what you might call the plenitude of facts, inverted commas, facts, data. What the way things are, the way things happen. In themselves, data is unlimited. I won't say infinite. The word has different connotations. Data. Data in and of itself has no meaning. It is, as somebody put it, like sand. The, the, the quantity of grains of sand by themselves have no meaning. They have sand, a lot of sand. One grain of sand, another grain of sand, yet another grain, millionth grain of sand, billionth. You can go on like that. It just is. So data then would be what you might say the plenitude of facts. Now, when we select from data that which we need, we have information. Data, information. A good example of that would be the telephone directory containing, once upon a time we used to have telephone directories. I know youngsters don't quite know what that is. We live in another world. We used to have these thick volumes, yellow pages and all of that. True, true. So we had these, and you might say that, like the city of Karachi's phone numbers, all compiled in huge tomes, that would be data. That would be data. Information then would be a selection out of those numbers of value to me. This would be my home telephone directory. This would be a selection of phone numbers from there of my relatives. Perhaps ladies would immediately know the tailor. And of course, the second category of tailor. And important things, phone numbers of value. So now we see from data, we select. So a selection of data then gives us information. Now, information organized in a turn is knowledge. Information organized in a pattern is knowledge. Let us just pause here and see. So many of us confuse information with knowledge. So when youngsters say to me, but I have Wikipedia, I don't really need you to tell me. I say, yes, you do need me to tell you. For on Wikipedia is information, unfiltered, some of it quite bogus, some of it shaky, some of it good. Not all Wikipedia is bad. I know we've checked. So the internet can contain enormous quantities of not knowledge, information, data. These are the raw materials on which we create patterns. So perhaps the best way of understanding that is the periodic table in chemistry. That is knowledge. And the genius who gave it to us, Mendeleev, the Russian chemist, he was the one who had the access to enormous data, information about all the elements. He was the one who was able to see that there is a pattern in them, and he was able to organize them. And he was the one who saw how chlorine and fluorine and iodine form sequence. And once they were in sequence, it is truly to his and humanity's greatness that helium was found first on the sun and then found on Earth. That's why it is called helium. It's one of those chemistry things. That he was the one who, at that time, given the equipment of that time, a wrong atomic number of an element. And he said, no, 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 it can't fit there. The measurement is wrong. And it was. And that's how I was able to get oxygen in the right column. And a lot of other details there. Now, there we have knowledge. The periodic table is knowledge, information organized in a. You're with me so far? So, yeah. Um, uh, and knowledge, applied to life, gives wisdom. Now we have the fourth word. From data to information to knowledge to wisdom. And all traditions accept that one can have a lot of knowledge, but be short on wisdom. Wisdom is an application of knowledge to life. And this then is that wedge between how it is possible for people to know so much and yet take stupid decisions, and how some people may not take, may not know a lot, but they have wisdom. They have that sharpness, that acumen by which we say, भाई इन्होंने तालीम हासिल नहीं की लेकिन इनमें हिकमत बहुत है. And this is the distinction we make between knowledge and wisdom. And wisdom is finally the kind of it is which knowledge is aimed at. Ultimately, if knowledge is not applied to life or is not applicable to life, what is it if not, in the Quranic metaphor, a donkey laden with? What is it if not a burden on a beast which doesn't understand and can never understand? A donkey cannot understand the quality of the weight of the books on it. And this then is the metaphor of us who can know a lot, but if you are unable to apply it to life, unable to connect it to life and living, then the transition between knowledge to wisdom then is a lifelong process which has got stymied somewhere. And so today our theme, as I explore it, I need to kind of, clear the way between what knowledge is not. Information is not knowledge. It is the stage prior to knowledge. When it is organized in a pattern, it is knowledge. And the effort to get it into that organization, that effort is a human effort. And that cannot be short circuited. Since I need to explain this a little bit, Salli Allah. और बारे दीगर नारायण सब we live in an age where instantaneous access to information has become the hallmark of our age. It has its cost. It has a human cost. Let me comment this by a couple of some very simple life examples, and then we will be able to draw. I belong to the knowledge industry, the education industry. It is my business to look at teaching and learning. It is my business to look at curricula and syllabus and all of that. It is my business to endow teachers and children, students with inverted commas knowledge. I would like them to know that which I know. I would like them to benefit from the effort I have put in, the patterns. I would like them to have enriched minds, inshallah, to be able to make patterns on their own. That is the process. But we live in an age of very strange infusions, and it doesn't take much thinking to realize that some of the fake information, some of the disinformation, some of the materials around us are a serious threat to our sanity, are a serious threat. Let me comment this from Indra. A homely example. Imagine a gentleman who would like to give a gift to his wife. Okay, imagine two gentlemen, different gentlemen, wanting to give gifts to their wife, different people. We are talking about four people. Imagine couple A1, A2, and imagine couple B1, B2. I think I'll get that. And person A, gentleman A, is a well-off person, very, very, very well off. He decides to give a gift to his wife, a gold ornament, makes a phone call to his jeweler, says, please send me such and such an item. And he does so, all comes all wrapped in everything and gives it. Situation A, person A, A1, A2. He gives it to Begum. Begum says, ah, wonderful. One. Person B, B1, B2, they are not that well off. And in that sense, gentleman B is not in the league of doing the kinds of things gentleman A is able to do. We are not worried about it. But he actually sincerely cares. So he goes to a shop, looks around at the various items, carefully negotiates, curates, chooses, remembers his wife's choices, remembers the various colors, things that she likes, and then chooses an appropriate item. About 3.5 hours of dedicated time choosing, curating, navigating, choosing. Finally, he takes that and he gives that to his wife. Of the two, which one do you think has done the better deed in the giving the gift? Everyone would say the second. Everyone would say B1, B2. Yeah, the care and the time he has taken to choose is also a measure of his affection and his love. Would you agree? Yeah. Okay. I know some would say, no, no, what was what was the first? Yeah. So it's something immediately that we understand is exactly the metaphor of knowledge and the effort that it takes. If I have everything in the tip, if I have everything in the tip of my finger, if my knowing doesn't cost me any effort or time, if it is instantaneous, it is knowing, it is value. That is not the issue. But the time and the energy it takes to turn information into a pattern that makes sense, a pattern made by myself, surely that has value of another kind. We are talking about capacity, a human capacity of knowing that which makes knowing of value, that which takes time. And we live in an age where this time is seriously, seriously being eroded. We think that we can actually take shortcuts and we can actually know. But no, it doesn't work that way. And our experience tells us this. We will give one more example and I will move on. Salam. I was present when a speaker in the Karachi University Department of English, very eminent, mentioned by pure chance as a passing comment in a conversation that T.S. Eliot wrote a poem called The Wasteland. And he said there are two kinds of people in the world, those who have read Wasteland and those who haven't. And we thought that was a very smart way of giving us a nudge. I remember going off to Karachi University main library. I remember taking the collected works of T.S. Eliot. I remember taking a notebook and I remember writing out the entire Wasteland by hand. That was 40 years ago. Now I know of people who also admire T.S. Eliot and who have also read The Wasteland, shortcuts. And they have just clicked, click, 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 YouTube, click. And they have heard The Wasteland recited by T.S. Eliot himself. It takes a while. Too long didn't read. I think they must have heard only the first 25 lines at Achamas. I have yet to meet a person who would be able to have any sense of what Eliot was saying, comparable to the kind of effort that I put in. Don't get me wrong, other people have done harder, better things. I'm simply giving a personal narrative that the time and the energy I gave to understand something, to imbibe it, to ingest it, to take it, to make it my own, is something which nobody can take from me. Whereas if it was a couple of clicks away, it was easy come, easy go. It was easily in and just as easily out. And there lies the whole crux of the world we are in. And there are around me young people who listen to extremely wise things in reels. That little bit of snippet from some scholar, some whatever it is that the algorithm has filled them, and they can't for the life of them remember who it was because it was just a face. So they can't tell me the whys, the wherefores, they can't tell me the name, the scholar, they can't tell me the date, the book, they can't tell me. And then they marvel, so the heck do you remember all this? Well, I put in the time and the trouble to do it. And there lies the distinction between information and knowledge. In the sacred path of life, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala invites us to knowing. Don't confuse knowing with inform. There lies the distinction. So, now the parable perhaps would make a little bit more sense and bring this topic to another light to it. This one comes from Idris Shah, a very good Sufi writer. Once upon a time was all over the place. Thinkers of the East, the book. And I quote a parable from it. An answer of Humayun Adil. That's the title. The book is available free PDF, so all you need to do is type Thinkers of the East, click, an answer of Humayun Adil, click, see, there we go. Humayun Adil, Sheikh, master, heard someone say in his presence, if only scholar so-and-so's speech had more references, was more dense, had more examples, how nice it would be. Humayun Adil, Sheikh, is sitting, there are other people, and one gentleman refers to a talk that he's heard of someone else. And it's not complaining, but he's describing that if only that other talk, other lecture that he had heard had more references, was more dense, had more wisdom, how nice it would be. Humayun Adil immediately said, this reminds me of a man who came upon 4 pages of a manuscript written in beautiful calligraphic ink. And the man looked at the pages, read them, and said, if only there was no blank space around the pages or between the lines. Somehow, if only even that much space hadn't been wasted, how nice it would have been. And the moment he thought this, something magical happened. the pages that he was holding, suddenly the ink of each of the letters began spreading. And within a few minutes, all the 4 pages were completely black. Now, there is an exact metaphor of the kind of world we are in. We have no spaces or pauses in our lives to think. We are constantly being stimulated by the doom scrolling. And since we do not give time to ourselves from one experience and epiphany to make sense of it and to organize it, we are constantly taking new materials. Please understand that the brain has its own way of working. And the more you keep giving it, the more it delays the patterning effort, because it says, please finish giving all the information. Only then can I put it. Only then can I organize it. But if you keep giving it, it never does. And so, therefore, we have this bits and pieces, flotsam and jetsam, bits and pieces, sentences half heard, half remembered. And that is why our brains are full of chaff and straw. No single sentence at all, only individual words, glimmers, glamours, a remarkable and chilling picture of wanting every space on a page filled. But if it is, there is no wisdom at all. It is completely black. The pages have gone black. Now, that is something to think about. So, this problem of knowledge is a deep problem. And now we take a look at something for balance to it. My teacher gave me this piece of wisdom in a peculiar way, so I will try and imitate that and give it. He said, all of us say, Auzu billahi samil alim shaitan rajim, because we can be assailed by shaitan. So we say to God, preserve us from the curse, the shaitan. He said, not so the Prophet, not so the Masums, not so the Panjatan Pak, not so the blessed ones. They have been preserved. So, particularly the Prophet. So, what did they seek refuge from? Particularly the Prophet. I mean, if shaitan is not an issue for them, what did they seek refuge from? He asked this rhetorically. We kept quiet and said, sir, please continue. He said, the Prophet used to pray, Auzu billahi minal ilmi la yanfa. I seek refuge from useless knowledge. Now, this makes a lot of sense. The Prophet is saying, I seek refuge from useless knowledge. I'm sure he meant this deluge of irrelevant information, this unworthy burden on our hearts and minds, and he's seeking refuge from Allah for that. Because remember, the prayer quoted in the Quran by the Prophet is Qul Rabbi Zidni Ilma. Oh my Lord, increase my knowledge. So the prayer given in the Quran is increasing knowledge, but at the same time, he's seeking refuge from useless knowledge, which means not all knowledge is worthy. And that distinction is right there in the language of the Prophet. So, digression on this कुल रब्बे ज़िदनी इल्मा अल्लाह ये गुफ्तगू हो चुकी है and people who remember reminded them ये हो चुका but कोई हर्ज नहीं. We normally translate this as it is on every school notice board. ए मेरे रब, या मेरे इल्म में इजाफा फरमा. Yeah, no. No, this is not what this prayer. We consider, oh my Lord, increase my knowledge. This is the English translation. No, it is not. Let's take a moment to think on this, and as a result of this conversation, correct it everywhere. Qul Rabbi Zidni ilma. Now, the exact the way the grammar works. You see, the Prophet is not saying, Qul Rabbi Zid ilmi. He's not saying this. He's not saying increase my knowledge. By the way, just think about this. What's the big deal in the Prophet saying increase my knowledge when on this planet every ignorant person, you and me, everyone, whatever stage we are, always say increase my knowledge. We don't know everything. We will never know everything. So we can always know more. So what is the big deal in the Prophet saying increase my knowledge? I mean, इसमें तो कोई कमाल नहीं लगता. अगर नबी आखिर ज़मान का इन्नका ला खुलुक़िन अज़ीम की बात हो रही है, द मोस्ट एक्सॉल्टेड कैरेक्टर, की दुआ में इल्म के इजाफे में कौन सा कमाल है? This is not what he is saying. Yeah, that is interesting. He is saying, and here is one translation, again, thanks to my teachers, my Lord, increase me in knowledge. मेरे रब मुझ में इजाफा फरमा इल्म की खातिर. Increase not my knowledge, but my capacity to know. Fill not my with more knowledge because it is filled less. Change the size of my vessel. Change the size of my. That is a prayer worth the Prophet. That is a prayer worth all of us. So that there is the point between. You see, of all the things in the Quran that we are told that excess of is a problem, excess of wealth, excess of progeny, and excess of land and wealth and assets and all of that. Excess of all of that is in the Quran with a question mark. It is a fitna. It distracts you. It is takasur. All of that. It is only about knowledge that Allah Ta'ala says you are welcome to pray for more of it. And Khwaja Khirat, a 13th century Chishti saint of Indo-Pak subcontinent, makes a very fine connection with human. He says, imagine the five senses, and you will find that there is a point of satiation for all of them. No matter how much taste, however much luxurious taste you have, there will come a time when it will be too much. However valuable or delicious a taste is, there will be a time when you will say, no more, I've had it. Perfumes, you can enjoy any perfume, but there is a limit. After a time, you will say, I no longer feel it anymore, or no, it's enough. Sight. You can see the most gorgeous paintings, art, nature, sunsets. There is a time when you have feet of it and say, bas bahut, it's okay, enough. Silk, the finest experience you can have of delicacies. But then there is a time when even that is, you have enough of it. He says it is interesting that all the five senses have moments of limitations when they turn into boredom, when they turn into satiation, except the urge to know. Knowledge, except the urge to know. That is insatiable. And it is a mark of the human spirit that all the knowledge we have today is a matter of pride. For the human quest for knowledge is unending. And that is how knowledge has been built, and that is how knowledge has been provided. I mean, real knowledge. So now we see information that opens up. So knowledge then is a mark of our humanity. And the quest for knowledge is a responsibility. My knowing should change me. Deep point. My knowing should change me. If it doesn't, then it is not knowledge, it is information. It is resting somewhere in a corner of my mind, not being able to change me. Knowledge is that which changes me. And this is why the great Sufi Maulana Rumi has put it, Yak zamana bar sohbate awliya. An hour spent in the company of friends, by which he means the sheikh, the masters, the teachers, yak zamana bar sohbate awliya behtaras sat sala ta'ate meriya. It is better than 100 years of worship without hypocrisy, of sincere worship. Because when I'm worshipping, I remain the same person as I am. But when I am enriched with another perspective, there is a change within me which changes me as I am. And that change changes the quality. And quantity and quality is the whole point that he is making. Something interesting there, Salah. So then we come to the second word, zikr. I'll have to do this briefly. The word zikr occurs over 292 times in the Quran. And I'm now talking about not the word zikr, zal, kaf, re, but all the other formulations of it. So tazkir, tazkara, zikra, zikr, zakir, all of its permutations combined. It's a, it's a major word. And in that, right now, I'll be able to give you a couple of linguistic links there and bring our talk to a conclusion. Zikr, in a very simple sense, is remembrance. And remembrance brings with it a metaphor of reiteration and repetition. And I can't, as a teacher and as an educator, I can't share with you that the value of repetition. I can't underestimate the value of repetition. The finest things heard only once don't remain there. You need to reiterate them and repeat them and get them. That's why they stay there. Zikr. Zikr is to give life. Zikr is to give life, to therefore keep alive. It is to not just memorize, but to remember and to recollect. Deep words there. Zikr. Uskuruni askurkum, Surah Baqarah. Remember me, I will remember you. A most magnificent relationship, almost reciprocal with Allah, almost equal. You remember me, and I will remember you. And in that is a remarkable hint at human dignity. Allah Ta'ala almost seems to be saying, you go first. You remember me, and I will remember you. And masters have taken this as a poetic starting point. Remember me in company, and I will remember you in company better than yours. Remember me in health, and I will remember you in sickness. Remember me in prosperity, and I will remember you in need. Remember me when you are full, and I will remember you when you are hungry. It goes on like that. But the most powerful note that masters have said is when this sentence comes to a close, and he says, remember me when you are alone, and I will remember you when I am alone. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says this, the masters say, the mind is simply stunned at understanding. What does that mean? We don't really know. As Muslim. Zikr. Zikr is to remember. And masters tell us that there are 3 or 4 levels of remembering. First, we are to remember the primordial of a time before we came here. Hence, the Yom Alast. Hence, the this vision is granted to us in the Quran. And remember when all the souls of humanity were arrayed before God, and God said, "Am I not your Lord?" And everyone said, "Bala, yes, you are." Alastu bi rabbikum qalu bala. And that when we came here, something in our soul memory, when we came here, we have forgotten. Zikr is to remember a forgotten promise, a forgotten pledge. Then, once we are here, in our effort to understand that pledge and to live by it, we remember that the messenger is reminding us. This is why one of the commandments of the messenger is Tazkir Ayyam Allah. Remember the days of God. A complete talk right there, but one of the names of the Quran is Zikr, because it reminds us of truths that we have forgotten. One of the things that Zikr does is to remember the grace and the gratitude that is given to us. And truly, we can take anything at all for granted. And somebody put it very well. If you want to see, if you want to see the grace that surrounds your life, spend 24 hours in your neighbor's house. And soon you will see the enormous blessing of your own house. Zikr. One of the other things that Zikr does is not just looking, therefore, prior to coming on earth, but a zikr of the future. And that has in its own moral values. There is a day after death. There is a day of assembly and remembrance. There is a day of account. And on day you will be held all to account. So therefore remember that. And that should give shape to your deeds today. So we see now how zikr is past, present, and future. So now we immediately see how knowledge and zikr goes together. One last comment, because I cannot possibly miss this opportunity. There's a very fine book introducing the spirituality of Imam Ali by Raza Shah Kazmi. If you haven't already got it, contact me. I mean, we'll get it. Raza Shah Kazmi has done this excellent volume. I'm using the subtitle because I'll now get to the title. Introducing the Spirituality of Imam Ali. The name of the book is Justice and Remembrance. And I find it extremely apt that of the two qualities of the Imam Ali that he's chosen, these two share the Imam's life completely. Justice in his relationship with mankind, remembrance in his relationship to Allah. Brilliant. So, no one quite gave us the presence of Allah in hearts and minds the way the Imam did. And for now, simply the opening sentences of Dua Kumail and Dua Sabah, just some meditation on that, and you would understand that the man who speak about God like that has a different understanding of the presence. And some other time, perhaps, these are therefore the two major doors by which our lives can approach spirituality, and we can be a bit anchored in the world we are in. I come now to the concluding part of our talk. You know immediately, of course, which hero we'll be talking about of Karbala, because we did the Hazri. We have something. Those who have had the great honor and privilege of attending, of going to Karbala and attending, being present, would know that there is a different kind of light and a different kind of energy in Mullah Abbas's shrine, and a different kind of energy in Imam Hussain, just a little bit. In between is this little walkway, and walking that little distance from Hazrat Abbas to Imam Hussain has behind it a spiritual flavor. Blessed are those who've been able to feel it. I only learned yesterday through the same ways by which we learn these things. That the collections made at Hazrat Abbas's Mazar sustain, firstly, almost the country's economy, sustain any other gaps that people feel in, in the various expenses of the place, and a most charming sentence from the people who run it: sustain any gaps that are left from Imam Hussein's collection. I think that symbolic sentence has in it enormous beauty. मौला अब्बास के मजार से जो कलेक्शन आता है, उससे इमाम हुसैन से कलेक्शन में अगर कोई कमी पड़ जाती है तो उससे पूरी वो ब्यूटीफुल. Not a syllable. No. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa al. Today, it is my honor and privilege to share a few sentences from Allama Zaki Bakri. तारीख ये कहती है कि 4 मर्द अगर करबला में होते तो काफी था, किसी और की जरूरत ही नहीं थी. एक मोहम्मद हनफिया, दूसरे जाफर तैयार, तीसरे हजरत अब्बास, चौथे इमाम हुसैन. मैं कहता हूं ये 4 भी नहीं, बस अब्बास को अगर इजाजत मिल जाती तो करबला की तारीख बदल जाती. लेकिन मेरे नौजवानों, इस्लाम जज्बात का नाम नहीं है, इस्लाम अकल का नाम है. तारीख ये कहती है कि शब आशूर हजरत अब्बास तलवार को सैकल कर रहे हैं. दूर से सकीना ने देखा, ये अजीब चाचा भतीजी है. जब भी अब्बास का नाम लीजिए, सकीना का नाम जरूर लीजिए. इसलिए हमारे अलमों के साथ जहां अब्बास का अलम निकलता है, वहां एक मशकीज़ा सकीना का भी होता है. उस उन चचा भतीजी का भी जुदाई नहीं हुई. अब्बास अली करते हैं तलवार ये सैकल, सहमी हुई है रात सहर कांप रही. सकीना ने देखा कि हजरत अब्बास के चेहरे पर जलाल है, गोया ये कह रहे हैं कि कल इजाजत मिल गई तो दुनिया को बता दूंगा कि कौन है अब्बास. अब्बास शान मजहर परवरदिगार है, मुश्किल कुशा मिजाज है, हैदर वकार है. बास जान फातिमा पे निसार है, इस पर निसार फातिमा जहरा का प्यार है. ए मर्ग इस तरफ जो भतीजी है उस तरफ, ताजील इस तरफ तो उधर इंतजार है. अब्बास क्या फिरात से प्यासे पलट गए, पानी की मौज आज तलक बेकरार है. देखो कहीं सवारी अब्बास तो नहीं, बालीम पे मेरी कैसा ये गर्द गुबार. सकीना दौड़ी हुई आई, बाबा के पास आई. बाबा के देख देख के चचा के चेहरे पर कि कैसा जलाल है. इमाम हुसैन ने देखा, हकीकत में जलाल है. ऐसा मालूम होता है कि हैदर करार हैं, अली करबला में पहुंच चुके हैं, तलवार को सैकल कर रहे हैं. जलाल हैदरी को संभालने के लिए जैनब की जरूरत थी. जैनब को बुलाया और कहा, अब्बास का को गुस्सा आ गया है, इसे संभालो. सानिया फातिमा आहिस्ता आहिस्ता कदम बढ़ाती हुई अब्बास के करीब गई. अब्बास जवाब नहीं आया. दूसरी मर्तबा कहा, अब्बास जवाब नहीं आया. तीसरी मर्तबा कहा, अब्बास माँ फातिमा जहरा का वास्ता. अब्बास ने देखा सामने शहजादी हैं, एहतराम में खड़े हो गए, हाथों को जोड़कर कहा, शहजादी आप हुक्म देती मैं आ जाता, आपने जहमत क्यों फरमाई. अब्बास मेरी ख्वाहिश है, पूरा करोगे. कहा, शहजादी आप ख्वाहिश करें और मैं पूरा ना करूं, बताइए क्या ख्वाहिश. कहा, ख्वाहिश यह है कि इस तलवार को नियाम में रखें. एक मर्तबा गौर से शहजादी को देखा, आसमान की तरफ सर उठाया, तलवार को नियाम में रखते हुए कहा, इन्ना लिल्लाहि व इन्ना इलैहि राजिऊन। ये किस्सा हमें क्या सबक देता है? सबक ये दे रहा है कि अब्बास ने जज्बात पर अमल नहीं किया, हुक्म इमाम और हुक्म ज़ैनब पर अमल किया। तारीख कहती है अब्बास असर आशूर के करीब कलम को लिए हुए आए। मौला इजाजत दीजिए। फरमाया, तैयार हो गए अब्बास, जाओ पानी ले आओ। अब्बास बड़ा मजलूम शहीद है, ऐसा शहीद है जिसके पास कुव्वत थी मगर हुक्म कुव्वत थी मगर हुक्म था कि तलवार नियाम में रहे, न चले। तारीखें लिखती हैं कि अलम को लिए हुए अब्बास आगे बढ़े। हुसैन ने गौर से सर के पांव तक भाई को देखा। अलम पर लिखा हुआ था, नसरुम मिन अल्लाह व फतहुन करीब। हुसैन ने नीचे लिखा, इन्ना लिल्लाहि व इन्ना इलैहि राजिऊन। अब्बास जाओ, खुदा हाफिज। रिवायतें कहती हैं कि जब रुखसत के लिए अब्बास आए तो जैनब ने अपने बाजुओं को देखना शुरू कर दिया। अब्बास ने पूछा, शहजादी ये आप अपने बाजुओं को क्यों देख रही हैं? कहा, अब्बास मेरे बाबा ने कहा था मेरे बाजुओं में रस्सी बंधेगी, मगर मैं सोचा करती थी कि जिसका अब्बास जैसा भाई हो उसके बाजुओं में रस्सी कैसी? मगर अब्बास तुम अब जा रहे हो तो अब मुझे यकीन हो गया कि मेरे बाजुओं पर रस्सी बंधे। जाओ, खुदा हाफिज अब्बास। अब्बास चल। फातिमा जहरा का को पुरसा दीजिए। बीबी कहती हैं कि मुझे सबसे ज्यादा जिन मसाइब को बयान करना पसंद है वो अब्बास के मसाइब है, इसलिए अब्बास मेरा बेटा। रिवायतें कहती हैं कि सकीना ने बच्चों को जमा किया, मेरा चचा पानी लेने के लिए गया है, भी पानी आए। सकीना बता रही हैं, अलम जा रहा है, मेरा चचा जा रहा है, पानी आ जाएगा तो मैं पहले नहीं पीऊंगी, पहले तुम्हें पिलाऊं। रिवायतें कहती हैं एक मर्तबा अलम झुका। सकीना कहती हैं, मेरा चचा पहुंच गया फरात पर, पानी अभी आया जाता है। अलम पलट कर आने लगा। सकीना खुशी खुशी कह रही हैं, अभी पानी आया चाहता है बच्चों, बस घबराओ नहीं, देखो चचा का अलम करीब आ रहा है। यहां तक एक मर्तबा अलम झुका। सकीना परेशान हुई, भी मैमना की तरफ देखती, कभी मैसरा की तरफ देखा, कुछ नजर नहीं आया। कुछ देर बाद अलम बुलंद हुआ। सकीना ने कहा, नहीं मेरा चचा आ रहा है, अभी भी मेरा चचा। दूसरी मर्तबा अलम झुका। सकीना ने भी मेमना को देखा, मैसरा को देखा। सकीना इंतजार करती रही, एड़ियों को उठाया, अलम नजर नहीं आया। खुश को खुश कूजे को जमीन पर फेंका, हाथों को उठाया, परवरदिगार मुझे पानी नहीं चाहिए, मेरे चचा भेज दे मेरे मालिक। उधर अब्बास ने आवाज दी, मौला आखिरी सलाम कबूल कीजिए। रिवायतें कहती हैं कि हुसैन घोड़े की एड़ी देकर पहले कमर को थाम लेते हैं। आज बस इसी हिस्से के लिए मैंने आपसे रुखसत ली है। करबला में एक जाकिर थे, उनका नाम मोहसिन था। हमेशा हजरत अब्बास के मसाइब बयान करते थे। उनका तरीका यही था कि जब भी मसाइब बयान करते, कहीं ना कहीं नुकात निकाल कर हजरत अब्बास के मसाइब बयान करते। एक मर्तबा ख्वाब में देखा कि एक बीबी काली चादर ओढ़े आई हुई हैं और कह रही है, मोहसिन तुम अब्बास के मसाइब बयान नहीं करते। वहां शहजादी, मैं तो उनके अलावा और किसी के मसाइब बयान नहीं करता। फरमाया, एक मखसूस मुसीबत है जो किसी और के हिस्से में नहीं आई। कहा, शहजादी वो क्या? फरमाया, हर शहीद जब घोड़े से गिरता था तो हाथों का सहारा था, लेकिन अब्बास जब घोड़े से गिरे तो मुंह के बल जमीन। اللهم صل على سيدنا وعلى آل سيدنا.
بولے شبیر میری بال سکینہ کی آس، میرے بھیا عباس، میرے بھیا عباس، بولے شبیر میری والی سکینہ کی آس، میرے بھیا عباس، میرے بھیا عباس، بات پانی کی نہیں بچے بہل جائیں گے، پر یہ بتلاؤ کہ جب ہم نہ تمہیں پائیں گے، کس کو لپٹا کے بجھاؤں گا میں سینے کی پیاس، میرے بھیا عباس، میرے بھیا عباس، ہم نے تو گود میں بچپن سے کھلایا ہے تمہیں، لڑکھڑاتے ہوئے چلنے میں سنبھالا ہے تمہیں، جانا بالوں میں کیا تو کبھی پہنایا لباس، میرے بھیا عباس، میرے بھیا عباس، جب کہ رخصت کے لیے خیمے میں عباس آئے، بولی زینب کے بڑھے جاتے ہیں غم کے سائے، آتے ہیں اب تو عجب طرح کے دل میں وسواس، میرے بھیا عباس، میرے بھیا عباس، حق سے مانگا ہے علی نے تمہیں نصرت کے لیے، حملے کفر سے سرور کی حفاظت کے لیے، تم چلے جاؤگے تو کون ہے شبیر کے پاس، میرے بھیا عباس، میرے بھیا عباس، الغرض لے کے وہ مشکیزہ سوئے خیمہ چلے، سر پہ ایک گرز لگا مشک چدی بازو کٹے، بولے شبیر میرا دل ہوا جاتا ہے اداس، میرے بھیا عباس، میرے بھیا عباس، پانی لانے کے لیے تم گئے سوئے دریا، کیا قیامت ہے ملی लाश तुम्हारी भैया, कौन अब आके बुझाएगा सकीना की प्यास। मेरे भैया अब्बास, मेरे भैया अब्बास, मुंतजिर है दर खैमा पे सकीना भैया, सबका कह के बुलाती है हसीना भैया, उसके होठों पर बस एक नाम है अम्मू अब्बास। मेरे भैया अब्बास, मेरे भैया अब्बास, माजिद उस दम यही अब्बास ने सरवर से कहा, खैमे में लाश न ले जाइए मेरी आका। रोए शबीर बहुत सुन के ये हसरतो यास। मेरे भैया अब्बास, मेरे भैया अब्बास, मेरे भैया अब्बास, मेरे भैया अब्बास।
Ya Allah, bless us as this new year is starting in the most beautiful way. When I was a young girl, I used to ask my father, why is it that we have to cry every time our new year starts? And he told me that you don't cry, you just focus and live the life that you are. People of Karbala live. And now, as a grandmother, it makes a lot of sense to me. Please grant us good health, wisdom, prosperity, and guide us to stay in Sirat al-Mustaqim. Ya Allah, and shower us with your rahmah, as you are the most merciful of the merciful, and your mercy is greater than all our sins. Ya Allah, Ya Shafiu, heal us when we are sick and in despair. Let your nur shine upon us, protect us from evil and darkness. O Allah, we greatly beseech you to strengthen our faith and help us gain patience and perseverance to obtain your command, to obey your commands. Fill our hearts with love, mercy, and compassion, especially towards the lesser privileged. Bless all our loved ones and the entire Muslim Ummah with unity and peace. Forgive our parents who are with you in their heavenly abode and grant them infinite mercy and reunite us with our parents in paradise. Protect our children and grant them the wisdom to choose right from wrong, to appreciate their loving parents and to respect their teachers, and most importantly, to bow down before you regularly and thank you with every breath they take. You are the Lord of generosity. You are the all-knowing, the all-seeing. Grant us success in all we do, and spare us from humiliation in this world and the torment hereafter. Amen.
Bismillah.
on
السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا نبي الجنة. السلام عليك يا شفيع المسلمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد المسيحيين. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى أم المؤمنين والمؤمنات. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أولاد وأصحاب الحسين، خصوصا سيد المولى يا أبو الفضل العباس بن أمير المؤمنين سقى يتيما لدشت كربلاء. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. عطائے غریبان مولائے بے کسان بادشاہ خراسان زامنان یتیمان. السلام علیک یا مغیث الشیعة والزوار السلطان ابو الحسن یا علی ابن موسیٰ ایہا الرضا ورحمت اللہ وبرکاتہ. السلام علیک یا صاحب العصر والزمان الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجن. أجب الله تعالى ورجاك وسأل الله مخرجك وزهورك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل محمد الله. نعرہ تکبیر، نعرہ رسالت، سیدیہ فکر.
In the name of people near and far, dear ones who we have lost recently and before, those who are connected to us, Fatiha is requested, let us offer. And at the same time, let us also pray that the light of this majlis, the light of the reflection on the divine word and the deeds of the great ones reaches wherever it is needed in healing, grace, and need. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Malik yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد بعدد ما في جميع القرآن حرفا حرفا بعدد كل حرف ألفا ألفا. O Allah, bless our Lord and Master Muhammad, may peace and his progeny in number as many times as the letters in the Holy Quran, and each letter 1,000 times. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin